Hello and welcome to Some of My Friends Read Comics. We've got Vince.
Yeehaw! Criminals beware and mothers lock up your daughters.
We've got Chris.
Angry face emoji.
And I'm Kia. Hi, welcome to the show. We got a lot of cowboys in this issue. We got some angry faces. We've got some fun stuff coming up. There were a lot of cowboys, yeah. We are doing a She-Hulk. It's topical right now. She's got a new show on Disney Plus, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I hear rave reviews from the two other people on this podcast here. But we thought we'd do something topical and read some She-Hulk. We read some She-Hulk a while ago. We read Dan Slott's run from 2004, which lasted for 12 issues. And then it got renumbered and they started over in 2005. And I think it went for like 20 issues or something. We're reading issues 1 through 5.
Actually, is what it looks
like.
Really?
Something like that? Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're reading the first 5 issues of She-Hulk from 2005. This volume was collected as these issues 1 through 5 called Time Trials. I read it as part of like a big She-Hulk by Dan Slott collection, which had those first 12, then these 5, and then like the second volume had the whole back half of the series.
Did you read this in the moment, by the way?
I read these in single issues, so Dan Slott can stop yelling at me.
Yeah, there's some good jokes about single issues coming up here, and then so it's a story all about time travel. I feel like this is going to be a long episode because there's a lot going on in these pages here, and it's not just one storyline. There's a few different storylines here. And then our long read is also a little bit complicated. We're doing some DC multiverse stuff where we look at crossovers between Earth 1 and Earth 2. And the story we're reading is from Justice League of America 159, and it also involves some time travel. So we are going to try to not get confused. I feel like we've already messed up by just choosing these at the same time. But yeah, She-Hulk. I think we do we need to say anything about She-Hulk? It's Jen Walters. She's green. I think during this period we got to mention she's having trouble turning into She-Hulk pretty consistently. She's got like a gamma generator on her arm, that's like helping her out with that.
I think considering this is 13 issues in the Slott's run, I think it does a really good job of saying like as a good introductory point again. Considering I haven't read a She-Hulk comic in 5 years or whenever we last read one. I felt like, I kind of remember Pug and her assorted cast, but I think she does a pretty good introduction of like who she is, what her deal is.
It really does. It's like, we know we got a number 1 on our hands, and they're treating us nice. They're really taking care of us without feeling like it's holding our hand.
Yeah. And for people who are fans of the Disney Plus show, this series, I think more than any other She-Hulk series, like tries to make Jennifer Walters like show up as Jennifer Walters. It's not just She-Hulk all the time.
Mm-hmm.
There's at least an effort that she's Jennifer sometimes.
Right.
Yeah, and I like that as well here. She's got a real life that she gets to lead. And like a regular lawyer job. I mean, it's not a regular job because it's like supervillain law, but
she's a single female lawyer. Like Bender covers on Ally McBeal. I think Ally McBeal was in the background on an episode of the show. I think in the bar. Just to put the pin on the head.
Yep.
Chris, was she a lawyer before this series or before Slott?
Yes. She was a lawyer from the beginning, but Savage She-Hulk, which gets referenced here and in the Netflix show, she's kind of like not as smart. But then, pretty much right after that, she's a lawyer.
Okay.
Yeah. You can blame the gamma radiation.
Yeah, on and off, he's a lawyer for the next 30 years.
I think law in superhero books is always one of those things that's also just like you can't do it without having fun. Like it's just so silly to try and wrap the legal system around superheroes, but
right. But I mean, I think that this ends up being like those conversations you have at the bar where like, what if something like this happened? Like, what if like somebody, fell in love with the next arc is like somebody falling in. That's after what we're covering is like somebody fell in love with Eros / Star Fox. But was that consensual or not that she left her husband? because he just has those like make you fall in love powers. And I'm like, that's it's like, oh, that's interesting. It's a little dark sometimes.
That's very dark. Yeah.
But it was like, but at the same time, I'm like, oh, I finally know who these characters are after 7 years of hosting a podcast. So it was fun. But like those are the kind of like discussions we have, and this arc is going to get right into it. So let's go.
Yeah, let's do it. All right. So Jennifer Walters is she's running in the park, and there's a mugging or something happening. These two creeps have like this woman, like they're like holding on to her and everything. Jen tries to transform and she can't, but like the goons come up to her, and so she's like, yeah, she's still good at karate and stuff. She beats them up, and then Cap and Spider-Man, Captain America and Spider-Woman have been watching the whole time, and they didn't do anything when these guys like had their hands all over this lady. They were just like, no, it's okay, She-Hulk got this.
They wanted to test She-Hulk and like see where she was at, which is fucked up because there's this normie out there who just had a big trauma, like
huge trauma.
Yeah, one of my favorite moments, She-Hulk, is when she's like, if you want to sue these superheroes for emotional distress for what they just did to you.
Yeah. I think
like,
she should shoot. Yeah.
Yeah, they're like, Captain America's like, we could have handled this at any time. Don't worry. It's like really?
That's not what you need to be saying. That's like, the opposite.
I've been in situations where like I've been robbed, had guns pointed at me, and like technically no one got hurt. But it still stuck with me. Like it wasn't like if Captain America and Spider-Woman was like, let's see how this plays out. We'll step in if it gets too bad. Like that's not the right answer, guys.
Captain America just like, let's see what Vince does here.
so
let's see what this Pizza Hut boy does.
He'll be fine, but if he isn't, I'll throw the shield. Thanks, Cap.
Yeah, I'll throw the shield to the last second once he thinks he's going to get shot.
Vince is definitely not going to talk about this 15 years later on a podcast. It's not going to stick with him or anything.
No.
Imagine if Cap was there too. Like he didn't even show himself because you were fine.
I know, but I mean, if it was Superman, he would have let me die or jump into a tornado.
All right,
I mean, you'd have to make eye contact with Superman and be like, "No, don't save me, Superman."
All right. Okay, so Cap tells She-Hulk, he's like, yeah, we're watching you. Hey, you want to come join the new Avengers? And she goes, yeah, I'm going to be late to work. I'll call you if I'm interested. And we never see Captain America and Spider-Woman in this comic again. Maybe later after the ones we read, but not in these 5.
I feel like that was like a run through New Avengers because they were such a big team that like they had to justify why other heroes weren't in the New Avengers because I feel like they did the exact same scene to Daredevil.
And he was like, nah, I'm not. Everyone had to say not interested.
Yeah. I mean, famously, Echo was going to be Daredevil, but the internet predicted it would be, so he had to change it.
Oh, really?
Or not Echo, the
Ronan.
Ronan, the Hawkeye character, was Daredevil.
Really?
And they were like, no, it's not, because everyone predicted it was.
Fascinating. Okay. All right.
Brian Michael Bendis, a bad comic book writer. Dan Slott has to cover a lot in this series about Bendis's bad writing.
So they have a lot of fun with it here. All right, so she's back at work. She still works at this law firm. Halloway is like the owner's name.
JLA, I think is the name, which is in the TV show as well.
And her like legal partner has some new client he's brought in. It is the 9th richest man in the world, Mr. Zarkowski. And Jen's like, oh my God, I do not want this case. Everybody knows he's guilty. He shot an unarmed man in the back in broad daylight with witnesses, and it was on film. And like the news has been showing it nonstop. So it's like, yeah, this would be a ridiculous case to take.
This is where, again, as a lawyer, I have to pause everything, y'all. I have a law degree.
Yes, please.
When She-Hulk in the TV show is like, I have student loans to pay. I'm like, yeah, I know. She's like, I can't defend you. You're guilty. I'm like, what's the problem here, She-Hulk? Like, is the problem that they're not going to pay you? Is the problem like what? Why can't you represent a guilty client? Like, I know Daredevil does this shit all the time, but it's like, why not? Like, you can still represent them as long as you do it ethically. If they pay you, like, what are you doing? Like, everybody in our criminal defense system is entitled to a defense. Do they have to get like terrible lawyers as a matter of course. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
I don't. Maybe she just doesn't want to accept a murderer's money. I don't know.
Yeah, it's because she's not a criminal lawyer. She's also not a criminal lawyer. I think that was in Breaking Bad, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's also what kind of law does She-Hulk do? Yes, she does all types of law.
It's all types of law. So this guy, that the murderer, claims that he has access
alleged
to
murderer. Alleged
murderer. Yeah, and actually not even murderer because the guy's still alive and in a coma, right? So not even a murder.
Alleged attempted murderer.
The alleged attempted murderer says that he has access to a time travel device, and the man that he killed was destined to kill him in the future. So he got his killer first. And so She-Hulk and her legal partner's name is Pug. There's like kind of a will they, won't they thing going on with them. Or maybe it's more like a friend zone thing with Pug. I think that's it.
I feel like there was something involved in the last time we read this. I mean,
there's something.
She's definitely got. I mean, Pug is pretty hot in the TV show. I'll tell you that.
Okay.
But yeah. I mean, like I like this. I'm like, all right, cool. It's a Minority Report defense. Let's see what goes. Let's see where this goes.
So they, Pug and Jen, go to the long boxes, which is their archive section of the legal team, where they house all of the old single issues of Marvel Comics so that they can check them for historical relevance and stuff like that. The
nerd in me can't handle this, though.
I know, it's difficult.
Because it's like, well, Fantastic Four did this, so that's precedent that, like, this is acceptable. But they have, like, new issues of the Young Avengers, which then makes me wonder of, like, are the Young Avengers, do they know their identities in these publications? And that, like, just breaks my brain too much. Don't think about it, Vince.
Yeah. It breaks my brain a little bit. Because, like, Fantastic Four comics exist because they're a famous family and they're reprinting their old adventures in comic book format, right? But, like, Young Avengers was a happening around this time in the comics continuity, and that they are, like, publishing these stories in real time.
Yeah, they make a joke that there's not a trade of Young Avengers out yet.
Yes.
There won't be for a while.
Because the writer of the OC is so slow.
He is the showrunner. He's the showrunner of Sandman now, by the way. Alan Heinberg.
He's so slow that they don't even have a trade to look at.
Wasn't he writing the Wonder Woman movie or something at this time also with Joss Whedon? I think he was.
I know Whedon was writing a pilot for Wonder Woman that never got picked up.
Yeah.
God, I feel like comics in this era were just always late and unfinished. They just didn't even bother.
Right. Sorry, we threw you off your trade, but the long boxes are switching to a trade paperback format over single issues.
The archives are empty because they got rid of all their single issues. They're switching over to trades, and it's just the way that it's the future. That's how things are going. But the trades haven't gotten there yet, so all he has is issues 1 through 5 of Young Avengers. Sorry, no number 6. Can't have a story.
Which is, I think that is funny. That's
it's a great joke.
Your own company. Like, you're like, yeah, we've been really late on these issues.
Yeah. And then also their boss Holloway is gone, and a totally new guy is in charge named Arthur Zix. And I'm not sure of the overall purpose of this. Maybe they get to this down the line later in the series, but she storms in to find Holloway and finds the new guy Zix, who was like, hey, I have a video from your old boss saying where he is. And he's chasing the supervillain, Southpaw, who is his daughter. And he's in Texas looking for her. Okay, cool.
Yeah, that was the climax of the last storyline, which I barely remember. But it involved Titania and Southpaw.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay. I kind of remember a little of that, yeah.
And Zix, in later issues, because I read ahead because I like this, he has some connection where he's got connections with like Thanos' dad, Mentor and stuff.
Mentor.
So, yeah.
Well, he's just a little bit of like a all-knowing kind of a boss here.
Yeah.
He's pretty good. It seems like he's got some hands in time travel, maybe, all that stuff. But they're talking. They hear a loud crash down in the conference room, and Jen's like, I'm going to change to She-Hulk. But my old boss didn't like that. And Zix is like, hey, I got no problem with it. And she's like, yeah, all right, cool new boss. Then we get a little bit of a quick flashback into the conference room so we can see what happened there.
Yeah.
4 minutes ago. Yeah. The Young Avengers broke a law or something.
This was stupid.
It was pretty stupid.
This was, Vince, I get spoiler, I guess, for my opinions of the She-Hulk TV show. They have very clearly consulted real lawyers. This comic did not consult real lawyers.
Yeah. So, Stature, who is
Scott Lang's daughter.
Scott Lang's daughter, yeah.
Paul Rudd's daughter, Cassie Lang.
Thank you. Paul Rudd's daughter. She captured some criminals who were getting some guns deal thing, like a shipment in. And she claims that the gun was in line of sight, and so that's why she was able to break into this place. And the lawyers are like, well, does it really count as line of sight if you were the size of an ant and you were looking at it through a crack? And
yeah,
Stature's so these goons are going to go free? She gets mad.
So this is before Civil War happens, because Civil War happens in issue 7 or 8, right?
Issue 8, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Why is Stature a New York police official? Why do warrants apply to the Young Avengers? This is so stupid.
There's a lot, and it's.
Why are they in the room?
Yeah, why are all of them in the room together? The goons are there, Vision is there, and Stature is there.
Even if this was the end of a civil lawsuit where they were suing him because they're like, Stature, you offended our civil liberties by attacking us for no reason, and you're just a private citizen. You wouldn't be in the room together.
I have a lot of problems later with people just being in the room together in these comics that are coming. It's a recurring issue for me, and we'll definitely talk about it every time it comes up.
It's just like I said, as a lawyer, how many times I've had to tell somebody, no, they won't be in the room with you. That it's just no. They're going to be in the room just for no reason. They're going to be. That's just how it
goes. So Stature gets mad that these goons are going to go free, and she grows big and starts a little ruckus and breaks the table. That was the crack, and so they're having a little fight. The two goons are named Boomerang and Ox is the big dumb one. But at one point he says, "Okay, Boomer," and I was like, "What? That doesn't make sense in this context." And I was like, "Oh, he's talking to his friend Boomerang." Okay.
Yeah, he's just talking to his Spider-Man foe.
But can you imagine a time when OK Boomer it was only 17 years ago?
What a time.
What a time.
Things were better back then. OK Boomer.
Yeah. So they have a little fight. A She-Hulk shows up. She takes him down pretty easily, although the Longbox, the archives guy, he almost gets killed by Boomerang. He takes a boomerang straight to the chest, but he was saved by a trade paperback that just came in. He came down to tell everyone they arrived. Nice job. The other lawyer who works at this place is in a wheelchair. Her name is Mallory, and she's like, "Get your hands off my client." And it turns out we kind of just assumed this law firm was representing Vision and Stature. Nah, it's the other way around. They're representing Ox and Boomerang. They're representing the bad guys. And Jen's like, "What the heck are we doing here?" And she's like, "Well, hey, we're no super law. We got to start defending some villains." Just how it goes.
I feel like there's probably a deeper pool of clients on the criminal side than there.
Yeah. I don't understand. Again, She-Hulk's offended by this. I'm like, why? What's wrong with you?
Yeah, the boss is like, "We should have been doing this forever. What's wrong with you?" Then Jen goes to talk to everybody. This Mallory really hates She-Hulk. Apparently she's in a wheelchair because of She-Hulk. Also lost her last big case because of She-Hulk. Mallory, this lawyer is Jen's work competition.
Yeah, she's in the show. We haven't really seen very much of her yet.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm sure she'll be a big deal at some point.
She's had one line or two. But yeah. Are these characters? Are these from any of these characters from the Burn Run, Pug or Mallory book or anybody or Holloway? Are they all Slott creations?
I don't know.
I think they're Slott creations. I could be wrong.
Mm-hmm. Let us know if you get the answer to that. We will. So she then is like, "Oh yeah, Vision, I remember you," or something like that, long time no see. And Vision's like, I'm not the same Vision. I'm a new body because you destroyed my old one, and they moved the consciousness into this one. Jen's like, and she talks about that with her therapist. She's dealing with a lot. She was mind controlled, and she said some bad things about people. Just kind of talks about all her problems for a little bit.
Thank you for killing me so I could live. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, thanks for killing the old me so I could live.
So Mallory Book is apparently like sort of a minor antagonist from the first 3 issues of the 2000. Yeah, this is the Dan Slott version, right?
Right.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So yeah, she's 2004.
Okay, so she's a new character, or at least as of this comic character. So then Jen's partner Pug has kind of solved the problem of the original case. We didn't mention it, but they're like, how are we going to get jurors for this thing that has been all over the news? We need people who have like never heard of this case. And so they are going to do some time travel thing to get jurors from the past. I don't know how this works, and I have so many problems with it.
I like it. I think it's
terrible
dumb.
idea.
It's dumb.
They are.
It's too high profile of a case. They've already formed an opinion. We will time travel people, but we got to time travel people from the past, not the present.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, or even the future, because they'll know about how high profile a case it is. I think I could still be pretty impartial if Mark Zuckerberg or Jeff Bezos murdered somebody.
Maybe. I don't know.
I think
He is
they'd
like,
have to
not me.
disqualify me.
I don't know.
They'd have to disqualify me.
Yeah. So they're trying to like see if these jurors are okay. This one juror is telling the judge. So Jen instantly recognizes juror as Hawkeye. It's Clint Barton, but Hawkeye is dead in this timeline, and so she's like,
he died during Avengers
House of
Disassembled
M.
like a year ago.
Oh yeah, right before House of M. Yeah.
Bendis' first story. Thanks,
Yes,
Bendis.
this is Avengers Bendis that Slott has to talk about.
And so Hawkeye keeps trying to say, well, I'm Hawkeye, except that would blow a lot of things for some reason that Jen cares about. I don't know why. It's not her problem. They pulled random people from the past.
Yeah, he wants to get out of jury duty, so he's like, well, obviously I have a conflict of interest. I'm a superhero.
Right.
But
And
they're
so-
like, yeah, Jen's like, no, get him on the jury.
Yeah, she's like jumping in and finishing his sentences in like not revealing ways about him being Hawkeye, and then they're like, yeah, put him on. He's on the jury.
Which,
So
again, jury, the defense counsel, I guess, I guess they're the prosecutor is on the other side here. They should have used one of their strikes to be like, we're getting rid of this Hawkeye-looking guy that the defense counsel clearly knows. But no, he's on the jury.
There's okay. We'll get to more about why this is a problem as we see more of how it comes up in the book. But then
I do appreciate at least Pug is like, you're not allowed to have people on the jury.
Yeah. Oh, yes. And then Jen is like, no, this is my plan. I'm going to save Hawkeye. I'm going to bring him back to life. And Pug is like, oh, come on, we can't. And she's like, let's just talk about it in the morning. And they go home and they go in the same room together, the same apartment. Okay. Maybe they are a couple. All right. Okay.
I do love that moment where he's just like, okay. Well,
Yeah.
I think this is a delightful first issue. It is.
It's a really good
We've
first
spent like a
issue,
lot of time covering this, but it's covering a lot of ground. Like we see Jen, we see She-Hulk, we see some stupid stuff with Boomerang and Ox and Stature. We get a Minority Report crime. I'm like, how would that play out in the legal system?
There's a lot.
And then and Hawkeye could be coming back. So then we got like personal stakes also. This is all great.
Right.
I'm on board.
There's a whole lot.
Yeah,
It's a
they're
package.
gonna bring Hawkeye back in She-Hulk. Then come on.
Yeah.
How did they bring Hawkeye
Hey, they already
back?
did. He's back.
Come on. They're gonna bring back the guy
how
in the
did they-
$15,000 suit. Come on.
Come on.
I don't remember how they did bring him back. I think it was just like, oh yeah, I'm Ronin now. I just came back. Like I just appeared back.
I think
after
he
House of M.
I think he banged Wanda somehow, but I don't know how he came back to bang Wanda. I honestly have no idea how he came back. That's a great question.
It was like 07 or 08. Yeah, so it was like 5 years. It was bad. It was really bad.
All right.
Really bad writing.
So let's skip it into issue 2 here. We have Hawkeye in jury sequestering, and he's like, oh, screw this, I'm gonna go out adventuring, and he goes swinging around the town, gets his old bike out of storage, it's like flying motorbike thing, He goes out on the town, stopping some crimes, meeting some friends, tries to call 911, but they don't believe he's Hawkeye. He's like, what gives, man? So that's, that's just him having fun, being recognized everywhere. Jen, meanwhile, is talking to her partner, and she's like, hey, you know what? I really just want to be green when I have sex. My therapist says it'll be good for me to like help me transform in battle if I'm more comfortable with my sex, with myself, if I have sex while I'm green. And so like, okay.
Her therapist is Doc Samson.
Is it? I thought she had a different therapist, and Doc Samson was like the...
Is he just her like gamma therapist?
I thought. Well, you're.
There
maybe
was the therapist in the previous issue had green hair. I don't know if that helps. I get Doc Savage and
yeah,
Doc
that's
Samson.
Doc Samson has green hair.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it's Doc Samson. Okay. Then in the morning we also see Awesome Andy sneaks out of his apartment, and this one woman's like, "Hey, Awesome Andy, where are you going?" And he's got a little sign. It's a secret mission. Go. Okay.
He can only communicate through the chalkboard that he.
Yeah, that's right. We should talk about Awesome Andy. He's a silent, big. Is it android?
Yeah, that's why it's
Yeah.
Andy.
And yeah, he just carries around a chalkboard. He works at the legal firm, and this legal firm is like we haven't mentioned. It's like a big complex. Everyone lives on site. Yeah, I guess that's all you need to mention about it.
Yeah, we've mentioned it now. He was created by the Mad Thinker. He's a character from like the '60s. But yes, he can't talk because his head is just a square block.
A square block. Yeah. And now we get this reveal. We had Pug is making breakfast for Jen in the morning. And then a third voice is like, hey, is that breakfast? And we see Jen's real boyfriend show up, who is John Jameson, the famous astronaut / werewolf.
Spider-Man 2.
Spider-Man
3? I guess he was in both.
Yeah, he dated Mary Jane in Spider-Man 2, right?
Yes.
Because he's J. Jonah Jameson's son, right?
Yes. But Pug is unfortunately just the roommate. He just lives with Jen. Jen's like, hey, sorry about all the noise recently. I know John's been over a lot.
This
like,
seems like I don't understand why it's such a bait and switch to like hide Jameson's like face in the previous like pages. Like
I think it really did want you to think that it was Pug, so you would kind of maybe be like, oh, it's not Pug. Oh, sorry, Pug.
Okay.
I don't know. That's kind of what I thought it was going for.
It was just a weird choice, I thought. But okay, yeah, that's got to be what they're going for.
I mean, there's more moments like that later with Andy, so I'm like, okay, I think they're pushing you towards that on purpose, but yeah, it is what it is.
This book is sponsored by cuckolding. What?
And now these news trucks are going crazy that everyone's seen Hawkeye. It's time for court, and Jen, during the trial, is trying to argue that this was an act of self-defense. So she puts one of these time cops. All right, we didn't mention the time cops. There's so much going on in these books. There's like the what do they call it?
The TVA, the Time Variance Authority, seen in the Loki TV show, headed by Owen Wilson, who's in this. Mobius doesn't look anything like Owen Wilson. Not as attractive.
Hey, he's got a little bit of a mustache. That's the same.
Yeah. Oh wow, She-Hulk. Okay. Wow. We broke the timeline.
So these time cops were like real strict.
Cast you as Mobius, Vince. That's great.
yeah.
I could play young Mobius in flashback scenes. A little blonder hair. I got long hair like Owen Wilson. Yeah, we could do it.
Yeah. You could totally play like Owen Wilson's brother instead of Luke.
In Bottle Rocket 2, I'll play Owen Wilson's brother. Okay, that sounds good.
That's right.
So these time cops, I don't understand their job really. They are just like, they were there when Jen and Pug were getting these jurors, and they're like, everyone be extra careful. There's no don't mess with anything.
They don't want the past jurors to learn about the future.
Right.
And I guess they're there to keep them sequestered, but they're not doing a very good job. If we're being totally honest.
They're doing a terrible job.
Is it justice, peace, and justice, love? Peace and love? Is that what?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ringo Starr sponsored.
So they put Jen says, I'm going to put this one time cop on the stand here. She doesn't have a big plan about this. She really just wants to get some eyes off of Hawkeye so she can go talk to him for a second. So she's asking questions. Yeah, so she's asking questions about this guy's DNA, and whenever the cop is answering, she's like over there doing these crazy hand motions. I really like the way it translates the hand motions for us of what she's trying to say, and it's just like panicked, and nothing is getting across, and Hawkeye is just asleep in the courtroom, so it doesn't even matter. It was a very, very fun moment here.
I forgot that like Hawkeye can like have sign language because he lost his hearing for a moment in like that David Letterman issue that we read like ages ago.
Yes. He has a hearing. Canonically, he had a hearing aid until he came back from Onslaught in the 90s.
Wow.
Oh, and it turns out he came back from the dead. They never explained it. He just came back with them with House of M.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Scarlet Witch brought him back, basically, was the answer.
And that's it. So this time cop is actually getting asked some serious questions, though. They're talking about DNA scrambling and how it, like, when people are transported through time, it purposefully messes with your DNA a little bit, and you like can't identify people. And this relates to how the murder victim, there's like no identifiable marks on him at all. They can't figure it out at all. Nobody knows who the victim is. But the DNA scrambling makes everyone kind of look slightly uniform as well. It's an interesting idea that is important later, but I don't know if it's fully fleshed out here. But yeah, anyone who gets their DNA scrambled through this thing, through time travel, ends up looking the same. Okay. So Pug spots a newspaper, meanwhile, about how, hey, this person died a year ago, and there's like an article in the paper about him. And this guy's on the jury. Wait a minute. All these jurors were chosen because they're dead, so that when we bring them into the future, they can't mess with the time stream by meeting their modern version. And
or doing any like facts about like the future or anything. Like they're not gonna be able to act on like, oh, you should probably invest in these stocks or anything.
But
this is never followed up on.
What's to keep anyone from doing that? Whatever.
This doesn't escalate the stakes for She-Hulk to be like, well, I should save everyone now. Does not.
Yeah.
She's like, well, I'm still going to save the guy I know. Because they do kind of address in the flashback, because the first issue, we glossed over it. She's like, hey, Vision, it's good to see you back. I'm sorry I killed you for no reason in Avengers Disassembled.
Didn't she kill everyone? Like, that was the first like modern Marvel book I ever read outside of like Spider-Man. Was Avengers Disassembled, whatever the first issue of that was. It may have been Avengers 500. And I remember, because I never had heard of She-Hulk, she ripped apart like Jack of Hearts and Vision and
Vision
else.
She for sure kills. I forget if she actually was responsible for Jack. I mean, Jack of Hearts dies. I don't know if she's responsible. But So basically, they're trying to lay out that she has guilt over this because she was in a poorly written storyline a year and a half ago. And that she is now trying to save Hawkeye because she feels responsible because she was in a badly written story.
You know what? Dan Slott's doing his best. He's doing his best.
So my concern, though, is that they're just like not telling any of these people they're in the future, but like,
I think they know because they had to sign their names because she was Jen Walters 05.
No, but like. So all these other people are like, hey, you're going to be a juror for a thing in a year in the future? Like, they told them that?
I think so.
I mean, it's the
I don't remember that.
Authority, so I guess if the Time Variance Authority sends you a jury summons, you're like, so when in time is this? And like, don't worry.
And they're going to have their minds wiped anyways.
Yeah.
All right. I guess I'm okay with it then.
I'll allow it.
I still feel
Judge
like
Kia will allow
wrong.
It is funny. I mean, it's canonically, Jen is wrong for doing what she's trying to do. Like, I do appreciate that the character is making the wrong decision, and everyone is telling her, like, don't do this.
Don't do this. Yeah. All right.
And
so
she's like, no, I'm gonna try anyway.
Yeah. So Jen then calls this guy named Vic Vachman to the stand. His name's not important. It's a big old time travel mess where they describe how this guy has this technology company, and the guy that they're defending, what's his name again? Zarkowski.
Yeah.
Had been doing illegal trading by sending himself stock tips from the future from this guy's company. And so Jen is like, wouldn't you have a motive to kill him because of him messing with your company or something. And then he got this message from the time travel device about how he was going to get killed. It's a little bit messy here. I don't know what all of it has to do with all of it necessarily, but I think I understood the whole twist by the end, by the time we got to it. So let's just keep going. Then a robot shows up out of nowhere and starts wreaking havoc in the courtroom. And Hawkeye's like, "Oh, I gotta help," and so he like puts on his Hawkeye gear and he helps She-Hulk, and the jurors are all like gonna get just sent back to their own time. The time cops are like, "Nope, we're not dealing with this. Just send them back to their own time now." And they all poof back. Jen does manage to give Hawkeye a message telling him what's going to happen just before he poofs away. So she's like, "Okay, I'll just edit that."
Like
meanwhile,
Doc Brown style is what they even like do the coat hanger thing or whatever. They explicitly say like this is like a Doc Brown thing from Back to the Future, like writing a note.
And then Mr. Zarkowski, while all this havoc is going on, he goes to reverse the DNA scramblers or something like that. He's like, "Yeah, while they're all distracted by this robot that I sent from the past, I'll be able to handle this other stuff." And he has to go back to the time machine to send a message to his old self saying he's gonna get shot. But because he killed the guy who originally did it, and the message still needs to be sent, or else it'll be a paradox. But then he realizes that he's used the DNA scrambler and everyone looks uniform, so he looks like that guy. So he realized it was even originally him who sent it. And then a time cop is like, "Yep, it's a paradox, but now we got to keep the paradox going, so you have to go back in past and get shot by yourself." So he goes through a time thing, shows up in the spot. Old man Zarkowski kills DNA-modified Zarkowski. And
Shoots, but
and that's
does
it.
not kill.
You're right. Shoots him. Doesn't kill him because he's in a coma. And then new Zarkowski is now in the hospital in a coma. And now he's back to being She-Hulk's client, but in that form. And they drop the case because they don't want to prosecute against himself for shooting himself. Which is technically a failed suicide. Yeah. So I don't 100% understand all of it, but I understand it enough to be like, okay, that's clever, and I'm okay with it.
As somebody who thinks about a lot about time travel, like, this doesn't make a goddamn lick of sense, but whatever. We're done with this arc.
I wasn't like, I didn't hate it, but I also wasn't satisfied.
I don't think it's very clean, and I don't think it's, but I also don't care.
This is also, we're still on issue 2. There's a lot happening here.
Yeah. It's also introducing like, oh, this is a famous guy, the 7th richest man in the world or whatever. It's like, we've never seen him before. We'll never see him again. Who cares? It's just like, why is this happening? So yeah, not the easiest introduction, but I do like where it goes.
So the time cops now are upset with Jen for trying to slip that note. And they're like, "Yeah, you're in trouble." And she's like, am I going to get disbarred? They go, "No, you're going to get erased from history." So
for your time crimes.
Time crime. So issue 3, she gets taken to the headquarters of the Time Variance Authority.
This is just Loki now.
I like it though. I didn't watch Loki, so I like it.
This is also the 100th issue, I guess, of She-Hulk's compiled or whatever.
Yeah.
So
including Savage, Burn, and any other run. Loki is a good show, Kia. I recommend it. They set it up like it's going to be this buddy comedy, like, oh, like Loki has to work with Owen Wilson, the time cop. And then like by the end of episode 2, they're like, nah, actually it's just a crazy, time-based story, sci-fi storyline that is not a workplace. Yeah.
And I know that Loki is like, this is probably a loaded thing, but I really like it. It's also show run by a Rick and Morty writer. And I really like the sci-fi parts of Rick and Morty, so it works. Like it's Rick and Morty, but in the Marvel universe without the toxicity. So,
If you want, an alligator Loki, he shows up in that show. So
that sounds good to me. I might have to watch it.
What if Loki was an alligator? Think about it.
Well, so I also didn't realize this was like a 100th issue deal. because it's issue 3 that we're reading here. But it does make sense because I thought these were going to be like breezy, modern comics that I could just like read real quick. I almost ran out of time reading these before the podcast.
This was very
issue
dense.
issue 1 was like double size, and then this was like a 100th issue thing, and it had like tons of guest artists, tons of stuff going on here. So it was like extra super size, I felt.
Yeah, because we're like,
So
we're
let's
doing
keep
5
going.
issues of a modern comic. This is gonna be fucking.
They were
easy.
dense, yeah.
Yeah. Fortunately, issues 4 and 5, nothing happens.
Yeah. So it won't take too long here. But this is the big one here. So she didn't even successfully slip the note to Hawkeye. They were just like, yeah, it didn't make it to the past for them. No way. So
Hawkeye's dead forever. Come on, She-Hulk.
Yeah, sorry, She-Hulk. But this time prison place is full right now, and they can't hold her, and everyone else is just too important. They can't let anybody else out. So instead, they're just going to erase She-Hulk because they have no place else to put her.
I hope you guys felt really smart when they're like, oh, the Avengers. Remember that time travel story with Kang where there were 2 Hank Pyms?
I did tie in. And I was like, thank you, Chris.
It tied in a lot. They I don't remember when she mentions the Avengers. She's like, "Oh, you've got that guy back there, and he's an Avenger." And they're like, "Oh my God, the Avengers!" And the time variance cops are sick of the Avengers. Clearly, they are like the bane of the time variance authority's existence. They're like always messing things up for everybody. They got to clean up after them. Oh my God, I hate the Avengers. I feel like this whole thing with Jen is really just like a personal thing because they can't get over the Avengers. Jen did
for them, but it's an anniversary issue, and it's kind of beautifully elegant for an anniversary issue because it's justifying like it's gonna like recap like here's all the things we're deleting you from, so we're gonna do a She-Hulk history now, which is really like elegant and beautiful. I like that a lot.
It's a trial of the She-Hulk, and it's like we have to call as character witnesses like everyone who's ever been in the She-Hulk supporting cast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But first, she needs the best attorney she can find, and so she calls her law firm, and they're like, "Well, if we're going to send you our best attorney, we have access to all of time as well. So we're going to send you our best attorney from the future, which is Sasha Martin, aka Southpaw, who was that supervillain
who's missing right now.
Yes, it was currently missing." But in the future, she turns out to be the best lawyer in New York City, and so she shows up and
she has a giant robot hand. But I guess
still has a giant robot hand. It's the future. A lot of people have giant robot hands.
Injured in a car accident? Call me 1-800 giant robot hands.
That's pretty good. That would get you some
Chris.
Clients,
That would get you a lot of clients right now.
Yeah. 100%.
All right, you got it. I got to think of the numbers to put for giant robot hands. But I got the billboard. The billboard is gonna like shoot fire or at least light up.
But Jeff has already got the 4s, at least in San Antonio.
No, yeah. Can't use the 4s.
Can't use the 4s. Maybe Robo Arm. That's 7.
Oh yeah. Robo Arm's perfect, Kia.
Yeah.
1-888 ROBO arm. It's even 7 letters. It's perfect, Chris.
Yeah, exactly. That's what Kia's saying. Yeah, and the billboard, like I said, will light up. It'll shoot smoke.
It's pretty good. You're gonna get so many clients. They bring back Southpaw from the future, and this like super villain slips in with her as well. What is he? He has a perfect super villain in the shadows line where he says, "Inside the time variance authority, clockwise, my boy, you've hit the mother lode." And that tells us everything we need to know about this guy. His name is Clockwise, and he's in the time variance authority, and that's where he needs to be. Great, we're set. Clockwise might be one of my new favorite nobody villains. I love him. So they go on trial for everything. All the classic Avengers are there, brought out of time to act as character witnesses. And instantly the art changes as well. The art keeps changing throughout this. Tons of great artists throughout all this. But she sees all these Avengers, and she instantly tries to warn them about stuff that's going to happen because they're from the past. And they're just like, oh, they laugh it off. And the lead prosecutor, why did I write prospector in my notes? The lead prosecutor says, she's doing it again. She's trying to change the past. So I'm like, why would you put her in this scenario where she's on trial for this and literally put things where she could endanger the past? I don't. It bothers me a lot.
It is really funny in the middle of a sentencing trial that she starts doing the crime again.
It's great. It's great. So they get a bunch of character witnesses. First, they get her dad as the first witness, who says some really lovely things and was like, oh, wanted her to be a cop, but she was too headstrong and she went and did her own thing. We have a scene with Janet Van Dyne helping her pick an outfit, and her old boyfriend Wyatt Wingfoot showing her heroism. And then the prosecutor's like, yeah, this is all irrelevant. Like, sure, she's a fine hero, but like, she could be taken out of history and just replaced with anyone else, and she's redundant. And we get these nice scenes of her being replaced by other people, and Jen's like so offended by this. She's like, God,
this is the coolest like meta thing I've ever, like, for an anniversary issue. I think this is brilliant. Because like I didn't read this comic at the time. Like, I don't give a shit about fucking She-Hulk. Like, I really didn't care about like any of like the derivative heroes. Like, probably misogynistic if we're being honest for 2005 Vince. But like I didn't care about like Spider-Woman, and it's like I care about like Spider-Man, Hulk. Like She-Hulk is just a strong female character. She can be subbed out for anyone. This could be a Wonder Woman story. This could be a Power Girl story. Like, why does it fucking have to be Captain Marvel story? Why does it have to be She-Hulk? Like, what's important about She-Hulk?
They replace her with Valkyrie from the Defenders, Thundra, the Archon's wife, and Power Princess, who She-Hulk is particularly offended with.
Yeah, it's like, they replaced me with Power Princess?
Is she from Squadron Supreme, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
she's the Wonder Woman from Squadron Supreme.
Yeah. But I love that this is now a justification for why She-Hulk is unique. Is now what this issue is going to have to turn into, which is brilliant to me. I think it's so fucking elegant. It's like just writing an anniversary issue. It's so good.
So then we get, speaking of misogynistic, we get a guy named Razorback, aka Buford T. Hollis, who walks down to the stand and he was like, I'm going to tell you why she's special. And Southpaw is like, should we let this guy talk, She-Hulk? And She-Hulk's like, yeah, what could go wrong?
And meanwhile, Dan Slott is all like, hey, this isn't in my script.
No, that was John Byrne.
Oh, is that Byrne? Because Byrne would write himself into the She-Hulk comics, right? Is that what it was?
That was a caricature of John Byrne.
Okay.
Oh, all right. So
he was a character, in Fantastic Four and She-Hulk, Sensational She-Hulk. So he's in it. And then there's also Howard the Duck, who hadn't been in a Marvel comic in probably 20 years at that point.
Is that Patsy Walker Cat also, I see?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, they brought Howard the Duck back in like 2015 or so, like a few years later. But Howard the Duck had not been in Marvel Comics for a long time.
Yeah, Howard the Duck was like, she helped me stop smoking stogies. It's pretty good. But all right, so Razorback story is it talks about how they were in space and She-Hulk was helping deliver some space vaccines to like a community in need out there in space or something, and she was like out there outside the airlock floating out in space, and they shot her helmet off, and like all of her clothes exploded off, and she had one last gasp in her, and as she breathed in, it swelled up her chest, and it made the aliens who were driving the spaceship crash their spaceship. and so that's why She-Hulk is unique, because none of the other heroes would have been hot enough to make that happen. And She-Hulk is so embarrassed by this, and the lawyer's like, you said this couldn't get any worse. What the hell is this? All right, but then
it's a terrible argument too, because you just think about it. It's like, how many superheroes, like Power Girl, Vince was talking about it. Like, how many heroes couldn't have done this?
I threw DC examples. I'm sorry, but yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, there's the body type that's the one. Like, it's not Kitty Pryde where you're like, okay.
It's not a great defense, but in like, I don't know, this in universe, this character Razorback wears a pig head on his head and it looks terrible. This guy does not have the best judgment.
He's a character who is a 70s 18-wheeler driver in space. So he
looks like part of the Flintstones, like Weeblo tribe or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. The whatever that is. So anyways, now everyone's laughing. Hulk comes down to stop the laughter, and he's like, hey, I accidentally turned She-Hulk into a superhero. But you know what? It makes me proud that She is a good person, and if she was erased from this world, then I would be very, very angry. Parentheses, and you wouldn't like me when I'm angry. And everyone's like, "Oh, okay, yeah, that's real sweet." And then everyone tells their story. They're thanking Jen for the hand she's had in their life. Silver Surfer learned about 80s power ballads from her. Spider-Man says he quips better when she's around. Then the prosecution is like, yeah, none of this matters. She's dangerous, and you know what? Here's what we're gonna do. I'm just gonna take you 2 years in the future. I'm gonna show you the Reckoning War, which is what happens if you don't get erased, and it's the entire universe that gets affected, and it's all your fault. And you get punched by this Watcher with a beard, and I know they're not supposed to interact with you and mess things up, but that's how bad you fucked everything up.
Hey, guys, do y'all know if the Reckoning War ever happened?
Nope, I don't think I've ever heard of it.
I don't think it did.
It happened it ended 2 months ago. In Dan Slott's Fantastic Four run.
Oh my god.
So what happened?
I don't know. I haven't read it yet. I'm going to read it. But She-Hulk starts it, and there are Watchers involved. So.
In 2022 it starts.
Wow,
oh
they picked this up 17 years later. All right, we're going to have to read this eventually.
Wow.
Put it on the list. That's great. All right, so She-Hulk
picked it up. Slott picked up that thread.
You know what? I'm glad he did. I'm glad he didn't forget it.
From awesome. 2005. That's like people literally born when the Reckoning War was first launched who were like learning to drive a car.
So She-Hulk says, you know what? Yeah, this is terrible. I don't deserve to live. Just erase me from memory. She gives it, and then they're like, all right, we're gonna blast you with this retroactive cannon, aka the Ret Can. She's gonna get Ret Canned. But who's got the Ret Cannon? It's that supervillain, Clockwise. Oh no! And he starts going berserk and shooting everybody. He can't affect the heroes that are from other timelines because they're already out of time. But he's shooting officers away. He shoots one of the judges away. We didn't mention the judges. It's like 3 of the same person. But he shoots one of them. And then the third one is like, no, I'm a future version of him. Without him, I will disappear.
The middle one is Owen Wilson, Mobius.
okay. And She-Hulk is like, well, hey, you can't shoot me. Because if you shoot me, then the trial will never happen. So you'll never even get to come back in time in the first place. And while he's thinking about it, she punches him.
Good. And
Jen is like, hey, you know what? Maybe love is the answer. So she goes up to Pug, and he's talking all lovey-dovey stuff. I'm like, I've been thinking, blah, blah, blah. Somebody who can talk about how much love we have. Did you bring John Jameson with you to this? And again, it's Pug just being like, no. But Pug does get an idea. He calls all of the people who She-Hulk has helped as a lawyer. And the judge is like, yep, I've determined that She-Hulk is a unique and irreplaceable being and that she will continue to exist. Hooray! But She-Hulk's punishment is that they have to make room in their cells for Clockwise. So She-Hulk's punishment is to take another prisoner out and hold them custody so they never travel through time. So she says, okay, I choose that one, the Avenger. But we don't get to see who it is yet. Then our epilogue, she returns some old Savage She-Hulk comics to the long box room. And they're like, hey, these are in those old issues, you used to always talk to the reader and break the fourth wall. You don't do that anymore, do you? And then she does it. Okay, cute.
The art in this series is a little inconsistent, especially because it's going from like different, it's like style to style. I wish that moment had been paid off better. Like it's unclear. She's supposed to be looking at the reader, but it doesn't really look like
her eyes are just like kind of blank in that moment.
Yeah, it just doesn't quite work.
She does talk to the camera in the TV show though.
Yeah, she does it as well in the next one, even though it's kind of a framing device a little bit. So the next issue is a flashback issue. We'll probably go through this one a little bit more quickly, these last two here.
Yeah, these last two are, like I said, I joked nothing happens. I'm barely kidding.
I feel like there's some stuff that happens. I didn't dislike them. But she's signing off on some papers to get this Avenger out of custody. They still don't tell us who. I'm like, yeah, we just got to kind of identify, account for all your whereabouts for the last little bit. But hey, we lost track of you about 8 months ago. What's up with that? And we get a flashback to Bone, Idaho, which is a city that I guess She-Hulk had destroyed a while back. And the
This,
green.
this instead of Bendis's bad writing, now Dan Slott's going to talk about Jeff Johns' bad writing.
Okay, I see.
Ooh, he's coming for the Kings.
Yeah. Is Jeff John a king of anything? That's sad. Anyways,
He actually is. He's like the chief creative officer of like Warner or some shit.
He's one of the heads of DC Comics.
He's failed upwards.
As sad
yeah.
as that
So the Green Cross. I like the Green Cross. They're an organization that was started by this guy Gary Swanson to go around cleaning up after the Hulk. You know what? It's pretty good. Green Cross. It works for me.
It's fine.
He's a little intense, yeah. But Jen Walters is there in disguise as Jen Smith. She's been disguised by like Scarlet Witch's magic, so that nobody who wishes her harm can recognize her.
That was in issue 1 of the last She-Hulk we did.
Oh, yeah, really? I remember that vaguely. Okay. And so that'll also come into play later when people straight up know who she is. They just can't see her, which is a little weird, but it'll come up. So she is just hanging out at this place, kind of trying to make penance for it by helping clean up the town. She's on the phone with Doc Samson, who's making her gamma charger, and he's like, hey, I need you to change at least once so that I can get a reading. And she's like, I can't change. I don't know. Samson recommends a support group in the town. So she goes. Everyone's screaming about the Hulk there, but their stories don't add up. Some are going with like the Avengers cover story that the Hulk did it. Some are. There's one woman who's like, no, I was there the whole time. She-Hulk did it. I lost my husband. I don't know where he is. That's why I'm digging every day, looking for my husband to see if he's alive. And this was like months ago now at this point.
I definitely didn't murder him.
Yeah. Jen thought that Captain America told her it was just 72 injured with no dead, but now it looks like somebody might be dead. And Jen's like, oh my God, did I kill somebody? And Jen is sleeping. She's having bad dreams, realizes she can't escape She-Hulk. She changes to She-Hulk in her sleep, and everyone who's like sleeping there at the Green Cross is like, oh my God, let's get her. I hate her. It was just a bad dream. Oh, whew. In the morning, a bunch of workers do find this husband's dead body, like down in like a hole too, like dug pretty deep. And they're like, what was this guy's body doing down here? But this wife is distraught. And everyone's like, oh, that's She-Hulk. She should get the death penalty. Blah, blah, blah. She-Hulk goes to try to turn herself in at the sheriff, but they don't like She-Hulk, and so they can't see her. Then they're talking about how, like, hey, the credit card company said this guy, the dead body is Travis. And you're like, hey, they said Travis made a charge in the last few months here. What's going on? And they're like, well, it could have been stolen. I was charged to some private eye company in the next county over. So Jen's like, all right, I'm going to look into this at least. And her boss at the Green Cross kind of like sees her snooping. So S.H.I.E.L.D. calls this private eye, like, yeah, did you meet this guy in person? Like, okay. So she goes down to like find where this guy's body was found and see if there's any clues there. And while she's heading down, someone slices her rope and then buries the hole with a bunch of rubble and stuff. Oh no. Jen Hulk is her name, is probably dying. No, she's not. Don't worry. She's not going to be buried under all this rubble. She's pushing it up. And her boss saves her life, digs it up out of there. And she comes out and she's like, yeah, I found what I was looking for. It was some pictures from the private eye. Turns out this woman who was like complaining about She-Hulk ruining her life, not true at all. She murdered her own husband. Her husband thought that she was cheating, got a private eye to get some pics. When she was confronted with it, she killed her husband, and then she was going to try to pin it on She-Hulk, on this disaster. Oh my God, terrible person. So yeah, that's that story there. The the twist to all this, the guy who started the Green Cross is talking to Jen. He's like, yeah, listen, I feel super guilty about what I did as well. All of this, it's on me, really. Any damage that the Hulk has caused, it's because I'm the one who dared Rick Jones to go out there into that gamma bomb test. and I'm the one who caused this explosion that caused the Hulk, and I feel so much guilt, and it's all my fault. Okay.
Well,
So
there you go.
There you go.
Okay, all right. It's got to be
I
like
do
an extra
kinda
retcon, right? Like I mean, I read the first issue of Incredible Hulk, 30 years ago as a child. I don't remember Rick Jones, but I guess Hulk had to be out there to save
I
something.
remember Rick Jones. He's
Rick Jones is
the
an
guy.
important part.
Is he actually named Rick Jones in that issue?
Yeah. He's
Okay,
the
cool.
Guy, they dare him to go out there.
And someone actually dares him? Really?
Yeah.
That's
The
all
friends
in there?
are
Really?
very
That's not...
much.
Oh, wow.
It's all in there.
Yeah.
It's all in there.
Wow. Okay.
Now, I don't think the friend is named.
The friend is probably not named. The friend is not important at all. But I do like that in the friend's future version, he is the most important part of the Hulk origin story.
Yeah, he's like, this
I
is really my fault. I have cast guilt over this.
Yeah, I'm the star of the Hulk franchise, and I should be feeling all the pain. Anyways, flashback to the present here, and she's like, well, there's my story. That's where I was. I was in Idaho. She didn't tell the other guy all that. But they released the Avenger into custody for her, and it is friend of the show, the Two Gun Kid.
Papa!
Hey, we just saw him traveling through time.
He was
when
in
we
the
read
Korvac
Avengers
saga.
stuff. The Korvac saga.
He was in the present day and then went back to cowboy times, but he's coming back.
So apparently he's been locked up for.
I wanted very briefly to explain what this issue was for. This was a retcon to explain stuff about the search for She-Hulk in Jeff Johns' Avengers. It was a 5-issue story arc that sucked before Bendis took over and killed all the Avengers. Jeff Johns had Jack of Hearts, I think, either gave her too much or not enough radiation and turned her evil. And because Jeff Johns only has 3 ideas, she's like, unlike my cousin who's fueled by anger, I'm fueled by fear. So because I'm afraid, I turn into the savage She-Hulk again, and now I destroyed the town, and they had to fight her. So this is like dealing with the aftermath of that horribly written storyline. Really bad stuff. If y'all want to read it, Avengers, I think 71 to 76. Again, I can't emphasize enough. It sucks.
I'm not interested.
It stinks.
Jeff Johns is writing on the Avengers. He's like, what if someone was powered by fear? This is one idea. What if zombies came back to life?
That were powered by fear. But did Jeff Johns' run immediately end, and that's when Bendis' run began? Is that what happened when Bendis took over Avengers?
Pretty sure. I think there was maybe a little bitty arc with like the Invaders or something that somebody wrote.
Yeah, there was about 6 issues in between, or 9 issues in between, with the guy who had been writing Chuck Austin.
Okay. Yeah, that guy.
X-Men, who was also a terrible writer. So the Avengers.
Not good. Yeah.
The Avengers went from Jeff Johns doing a terrible job to Chuck Austin, who mostly made the book about a new Captain Britain character he liked, who was a girl who was not connected to any other character who'd ever existed, that he could make into his, like, I don't even know who, just like he did with Havoc and the nurse from X-Men, where he's like, I'll just make this book about these 2 characters I like. Who cares? And then after that, for a few issues, then Bendis was like, what if I just killed the whole team and started over? Put Spider-Man on me.
I still like that Bendis stuff, no matter what you say, Chris. Sorry.
I think it's all
better than Austin.
I would say it's like it was fun at the time. It's not good, and then 7 years later, the Avengers 1 came out. It was probably the right call.
It's funny too, because like the Ultimates came out, and that Avengers 1 is just the Ultimates.
That's true.
That's true.
That's true.
All right.
Which
so
also, there was a comment. There was a comment in this issue that Hulk had never killed anyone ever, because if he had, Bruce Banner would have killed himself.
Absurd.
Yep. Absurd.
They are lying to the Hulk so crazily. They're like, yeah, he's gonna commit suicide if we tell him he's killed like 1,000 people.
Wow. Can't handle it. All right, last issue that we read of She-Hulk here, issue 5. Awesome Andy is going on his secret mission in the mornings again. He's going to see Mallory. And like kind of everyone knows about his secret mission. They're like, hey, Andy, you off on your secret mission again? I'm like, yeah. But he's helping Mallory with her physical therapy because she's in a wheelchair.
Cool.
He seems to be developing some feelings for her.
He's catching feelings. That's his first mistake.
Yeah, yep. She-Hulk is being returned home by the time cops. The two-gun kid was under arrest with them because he keeps using his knowledge to try and correct history. And they're like, yeah, you can't do that. So his punishment is just going to be to stay in the future where he doesn't know anything. That's just how it works.
Sure, I love it.
Sure.
Perfect.
So they get transported back. Everything is still kind of frozen. They got to wait until they sync up with time. They can't use the elevator, so they got to use the stairs. We get a Circus of Crime appearance here. It's two dudes. Did these two dudes get named?
We saw the Circus of Crime like in Amazing Spider-Man. Was that what it was?
I feel like we've seen them a lot in various things.
Hawkeye, that's where we saw them.
Yeah. But they are meeting with Mallory. They are like, yeah, listen, we never wanted to join that circus. The ringmaster hypnotized us. And Mallory's like, look, I've done my research. The hypnotism is temporary. You guys were working for the ringmaster for years. And so I'm like, okay, it's good that Mallory has some morals. And these two dudes from the Circus of Crime are like, all right, fuck this, we're out of here. And they knock her down and they just start running.
And again, Mallory is right. As a lawyer, Mallory is like, look, if you guys just want to go up on the stand and lie, I can't let that happen.
Right. She's a good lawyer.
Like, if you want us to represent you, tell us the truth, and then we'll just conceal it.
Yeah. So then Jen and Two Gun Kid, they resync with everyone, and they're like, all right, let's stop the circus. Mallory is pretty taken with Two Gun Kid. She likes this guy. And they're like, hey, Two Gun Kid, what are you gonna do here in the present now? And he's like, oh, I don't know. I'll just get a job, maybe look for some work. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, what do you do for a living? He's like, yeah, I'm a lawyer. Do you guys know any law firms? And they're like, do you know where you're at, man? And he's like, oh, I just thought this was like a new Avengers mansion over here. I'm like, okay. So they hire him to be a lawyer for them. Awesome Andy seems to be a little unhappy with how much Mallory seems to like him. But they get Two Gun stuff together. They have to take his guns until they can get him a permit. And he's like, oh, I guess I'm the no-gun kid now.
Stupid. That's like my thing.
Which, again, Dan Slott, not a lawyer, but he's like, oh, did they repeal the Second Amendment? I'm like, you're from the past. You should know that different towns and states had open carry laws and time, place, and manner regulations. You can't just carry guns everywhere. But he's like, no, I guess the Second Amendment's gone.
Joe Biden's America.
Yeah.
Well, this would have been
George W. Bush's America.
Yeah. I guess City versus Hellers come out. Scalia's right.
So he also is gonna be Awesome Andy's roommate, which is like an extra, just like, oh, fuck you to Andy. He's like, damn it, this guy.
Did they say here or earlier? It's like, I think like some of the things are getting renovated because rooms in the building got destroyed. That's why Pug and Jennifer have to live together.
Yeah, they've got to consolidate roommates and stuff for a lot of the, like, why don't you just let these people live wherever they want?
Or in their corner office or
I guess you save money this way. It doesn't make a lot of sense.
No. So they go to court for a bit. Matt, Two Gun Kid's real name is Matt something or another. I forget,
Matt Hawk.
But, Two Gun Kid, Matt Hawk, yeah. Two Gun Kid embarrasses himself in court. Like, he wasn't even supposed to say anything, but there's like some business guy. It's a guy who is making his own version of unstable molecules, and so he's trying to be like, yeah, mine are kind of different from his. What's wrong with good, healthy competition if I am making my own version? And this way Reed Richards doesn't have a monopoly on unstable molecules. And Two Gun Kid is like, well, this is just the American way. And he like stands up to give this impassioned speech about blah, blah, blah. And the judge is like, that's ridiculous. How have you not heard of the Sherman Antitrust Act of 1890? Even a high school kid's heard of this. Ha, 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 ha. And Two Gun Kid is embarrassed. Sorry. Do you know about the Sherman Antitrust Act, Chris?
Yes, I do.
Ha! Thought so. I don't know.
Because Chris doesn't trust nobody.
No.
He's antitrust.
Also, has the U.S. Supreme Court enforced the Antitrust Act in probably 35 years? No, they don't care.
They haven't had to. Everybody knows it already.
Yeah. It's problem solved.
Problem solved.
Warner Brothers is merging with everything. Seems okay.
uh, so Two
No
Gun Kid.
antitrust issues.
Two Gun Kid goes to a support group for people displaced in time. A lot of support groups in these issues here. Doesn't have much of an effect on the story here. He then goes and catches up on.
There's funny comedy from that. I liked.
There is.
There's like someone who's from like the Grecian times who's wearing like a toga, and then there's a guy who's like, all my shows are like a few weeks.
Oh yeah, he got time traveled 2 weeks into the future, and so his work piled up, and he missed out on some episodes of his shows.
Yeah, he missed out on Lost specifically.
Lost and 24 and Desperate Housewives. I think
He'll never be able to catch up. DVD on TV is not a thing. I think even iTunes was selling television episodes by this point, or they were just about to.
Hey, Vince, why should he have to pay? Because he got teleported 2 weeks back in time.
Just torrent it, man. That's what 2005 Vince would say. He'd be misogynistic against women starring comic books and also suggest torrenting.
All right. Well, he's shooting 50%.
So Two Gun Kid is like, all right, I got to start researching. I got to start studying. He's going to catch up on all the law from all time. The boss comes in. What's that guy's name? Vix or something? Arthur Vix. And he's like, oh man, boss, there's like thousands of new laws. The boss is like, more like hundreds of thousands. And Jen's like, shut up, man. You're not gonna make it work. And then Mallory comes in and is like, hey, I've got exactly what you need. Just this one little pamphlet, not all these books. And she like uses some loophole to get him his guns back. And honestly, he's happier this way. He's not a lawyer who should be studying. They get him a different job. First, Awesome Andy is mad about this. He goes to get Jen, who's like, Two Gun Kid, you're supposed to be studying. What's going on? He's like, nah, I'm going to do this work for the company instead. Rounding up their clients, making sure they don't screw up their court dates. You know what? That's pretty good. That's a pretty good use of Two Gun Kid, I'd say. He's happy.
He becomes basically a bail bondsman for the company.
It's pretty good. I didn't mention this, but when they were like getting him all his stuff, they got him his birth certificate. In his possessions, he had this CD, and he knew it contained data. He mentioned some musical artist he liked listening to, but he didn't know what was on it. He couldn't figure it out. And Jen's like, no, this is a DVD. They didn't have these last time you visited the future. And it is a message from Hawkeye, who says that She-Hulk tried to slip him a note from the future, and he thought he should leave some notes in the past. So he made some for everyone, and he says, go here to the storage locker. I've got you a present. And it's his old flying motorbike, which is also going to act like a horse for Two Gun Kid. So Two Gun Kid is happy. And that's the end of our She-Hulk arc that we read here. That was a lot of comics packed into those 5 issues there. But yeah, I like it. I think the She-Hulk is fun. I think Dan Slott, it's not a perfect comic or anything, but it's a fun comic and it's enjoyable to read. And that's my take on it. What'd y'all think?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna read the rest of it. I think this is gonna be my chip away at comic, because it's delightful. I think I forgot also, like, I was on a Games My Mom Found podcast recently, like promoting this episode, was like, on the plug segment, and they said, what do you think about Dan Slott? And I'm like, I mean, he's all right. I didn't really ask much questions beyond that. But, like, honestly, like, Dan Slott was the last comic writer that I read monthly comics of. When he ended his Amazing Spider-Man run, I stopped reading monthly comics. I haven't read, like, a modern Marvel comic since 2018.
He writes pleasant comics.
He writes very pleasant comics. So I think I'll probably ride this out, and I'm honestly probably going to go pick up his Fantastic Four and read about the Reckoning War, which I know...
I'm curious about it, too.
Yeah,
I bet it doesn't matter. It's just a cool word. But,
Yep.
But I'm delighted that he picked up that thread 17 years later. I think that's cool.
I want to see this Watcher with a beard punch She-Hulk, but in canon.
Yeah.
And
Clockwise does not appear again. Clockwise, it was his only appearance ever in comics. Was this issue 3?
Oh,
I'm disappointed, but I'm okay with it.
Yeah, R.I.P. to Clockwise. I'm not quite as high on this book as y'all. I like the ideas behind it. I think the comedy works more than it doesn't, but the art's really inconsistent. We didn't really talk about the art, but I was not really a fan of the art. And when it's not going for comedy, I don't know. It just doesn't to me. It only works as a comedy book. When it tries to not be a comedy, I'm like, who cares?
Right. I guess
fair. Fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think like the TV show though, like it hangs on it having a pleasant lead. and then solving like these bar room kind of things like, well, what if, something like this happened? Like, what if there was a Minority Report style thing? And like, I think
Well,
when it's making fun of the Marvel universe, it's really cooking.
Yeah, and that's where I guess being a lawyer nerd, I'm in the 1% of the 1% of nerds, where I'm just like, I want someone who understands the legal system to make jokes about it. Where that stuff, I'm like, you don't really know what you're talking about, though.
Didn't Charles Soule write a She-Hulk run? And I think he was a lawyer. I think they remember because he wrote Daredevil also.
Yeah, he wrote. I think it's only 6 issues or 9 issues or something like that, and it was good. But yeah, it's just there's so few. I feel like there's, and the TV show I think is proof of it. Like the TV lawyer show is such a staple of television, and there's always one former lawyer in like every writer's room of those shows, so they're always pretty accurate as far as the baseline of reality that you have to have. But if it's a comic book, it's like it can be really out there. So like She-Hulk, some of the stuff in the first 2 issues, I was like, "You're a lawyer. Like, what are you doing?"
She'll get it. She even lawyers have to do continuing education, so she can't know it.
So I know there's
you have to, or you get disbarred.
Yeah,
that's true.
You get your CEUs or whatever. Yeah, I know Kimberly does for her therapy.
Yeah, if I don't take continuing legal education on the multiverse, Vince, every year, I would lose my license.
That's usually why you're in town, isn't it? Because you come to San Antonio for.
Yeah. Again, for multiverse-based.
It's a lot of multiverses to keep track of.
Yeah. I am intrigued though, because she has some Civil War issues. If she's actually will be able to make sense of the Civil War Superhero Registration Act, or if they're not even going to bother. Because if they're going to make sense of Jeff Loeb's stupid idea, it's going to be there.
Yeah, but that part, Mark Millar too. That part at least, they do become deputized official shield agents or whatever happens in the stupid Civil War. So then at least they have an argument that like, hey, you need a warrant because now you're just super cops versus 50 years of superhero comics where they don't need a warrant because they're not cops. That's the whole point.
Yep. Well, I think that's enough She-Hulk. Enough of the legal system. Enough time travel. No, not enough time travel.
No, more time travel.
And more cowboy times.
We are jumping into Cowboys and Time Travel with JLA 159, which is continuing our read of just kind of random team-ups with the JLA and the JSA. It's a 2-issue story, so we're right now just reading JLA 159. We'll do 160 next time. This is by Jerry Conway, art by Dick Dillon. From what year was this? 1978, I think.
Yeah, I think that's what Chris had said. Yeah.
And I'm reading this out of a trade called Crisis on Multiple Earths, Volume 5, which is just some compilations of this kind of stuff. Yeah. But there's an annual JLA JSA. This is the cover. I wrote down the cover note here. The annual JLA JSA team up leads to the downfall of both. Oh no! And on the cover we have a bunch of these villains / who are they? Jonah Hex,
he's
Viking
a hero.
Prince. These are heroes. Yeah, Viking Prince, Miss Liberty, Black Pirate, and Enemy Ace. And we'll kind of learn about why they're the enemies in this comic here. But the JLA is having a party at Club 22. And we get a quick little roll call of everybody.
I got too hung up on this. Why 22? I mean, I know it's supposed to be like Studio 54 or whatever, but I'm like, why is this? Why are you not like 37 or something, like for like the start of Detective DC Comics or something like that, or National Comics or whatever they were? That's the number I would have gone for, but that's just me. I don't know why 22 was picked.
I don't know what Club 22 is. Maybe it was a common hangout for them. Yeah. But we got a quick roll call of everybody who's involved in this story. On the JLA side, we got Superman, Hawkman, Elongated Man, and Flash. On the Justice Society side of things, we have Wonder Woman, Huntress, Dr. Midnight, and the Star-Spangled Kid. Okay, so Chapter 1, Warriors from Forever. Superman's like, man, Dr. Midnight, great idea having this annual gathering in a restaurant so that we can all just relax. And Batman's like, I wonder if I envy the Batman from Earth 2, because he's like seeing his daughter, Huntress. It's like, I do kind of want a daughter. no, I'm proud of my work.
But I want a dead wife also.
Yeah.
Like as we learned last issue.
Yeah.
Am I jealous of my Earth 2's dead wife?
He doesn't mention that. Then we have a Star Spangled Kid meets Elongated Man. Elongated Man is Ralph Dibny. He was the subject of Identity Crisis years in the future.
Yes.
Oh, but this is a
Another
crisis from
terrible-
yesterday, as the title was called.
Yes.
Yeah, another terrible mid-odds
Another,
comic.
yes.
Ooh, should that go on April?
No.
April Fool's Day
Yeah, we
list?
should think
Nope.
about it. We should think about
Nope.
it. It's really bad.
It is pretty bad.
I'll put it on the list.
So Star Spangled Kid is like, yeah, you can call me whatever. You can call me Star, you can call me Span, you can call me Kid, you can call me SSK. And Elongated Man is like, no, you're doing this all wrong. You got to market your name and get it out there. It's all about the fame and the fortune, man. You got to self-promote. I want everyone to know that I'm Ralph Dibny. And Star Spangled Kid is like, well, my real name is Sylvester Penburton III. And Ralph is like, well, hey, Stallone was a pretty good Sylvester, huh? Good one.
This is pre-Rambo also, isn't it? 78?
This
Is
is
only
just
Rocky?
Yeah.
Wow. But then there's like an
award nominated.
wow. Then there's like an explosion in the lobby. Oh no. What's going on? We get an interlude to a dimension bordering on 3786 AD, but it's sitting just outside of time. And there's this dude. Did we get a name on this dude yet?
It's not the monitor.
Time.
What is it?
The Lord of Time.
The Lord
Ooh,
of
that's a
Time
dope
is
name.
his name. And he's built the Eternity Brain. And it's a thing that is like all-knowing and has control over time, and it's very powerful.
I love it too because he's just like he built this Eternity Brain and he's immediately like I regret.
He's like, oh no.
Eternity
He's like, I
Brain.
kind of regret it. Yeah, I have everything I want, and now this Eternity Brain is going to get too powerful, and it's going to stop all of time in less than 10 hours. And so his plan is to send 5 villains from the past. So send 5 heroes from the past, make them think that the JLA and JSA are heroes, are villains, and destroy them and give them their greatest defeat ever. And that will fix things somehow. We're supposed to be kept in the dark because I think the captions are like, "Don't worry, reader, you'll figure out what's going on soon." But
I really like that because I'm like, this doesn't make any
yeah.
sense to me, and
doesn't
they're
make
like,
any sense
it's
at
not
all.
going to make any sense. Don't worry about
It's
it.
like, don't worry. But he's also like keeping things from his machine because he knows he needs to like destroy this machine or else it's going to destroy everything.
Hell yeah.
And so the machine keeps asking him questions like, hey, do you know this might happen? He's like, yes, I've thought of that. It's part of my plan. He's like, so what's your plan? He's like, don't worry, machine. All right, chapter 2, Puppets from the Past. So these heroes were all just kind of like fighting random battles when they were sucked out of time. And now they're all in the present day together. Why can they understand each other? They're from different countries. They only speak their own languages. Meanwhile, back at the restaurant, Superman pops out from under the rubble. Some people are still knocked out. I think one of the Flashes is knocked out or something. No, the other Superman is still knocked out. They're all talking about how strong that blast was. And Hawkgirl is knocked out as well. Hawkman, this I think was my panel of the week right here. Hawkman looks terrified. There's something about his weird fake eyes that are like over his mask that are just bulging. He was freaking out. And he's like, we will not let this stand. We have to go after whoever, blah, blah, blah. I don't know.
Yeah.
So they go flying to look for the bad
He
guy.
is pissed off. He's like, if Shaira dies, y'all die. You get it?
Yeah.
Like, he is.
Oh, yeah,
he's
we're
pissed
gonna go
off.
find. So they go flying. Ralph also tries to give the Huntress some advice, or is like, hey, you'll pick up on things. She kind of feels like it's patronizing. I think
Elongated Man is definitely mansplaining.
He's
stuff
not.
to her.
Yeah, he's not good at talking to kids. Or
She's like
or anything.
25. Get out of here.
Yeah. Well, he's treating them like they're kids.
Yes.
So when chapter 3, when the heroes fall, the teams run into each other. The Viking guy pretty much smashes up their plane instant. They have a little bit of a battle, a little bit of a back and forth. It does not last long at all. The battle is pretty quick, and by the end of it, the Justice League and the Justice Society are just like down. There wasn't even any like trick or anything to it. They just fail.
Yeah. I mean, the Northmen, Jonah Hex, the pirate guy, they kick the Justice League and the Justice Society's asses.
They're just really good at it, yeah. And that's it. JLA dead, JSA dead. We never see them again. Epilogue. All these 5 folks from the past, they get transported up to the Eternity Brain, and that's exactly this dude's plan. And he says, so now the JLA and the JSA have experienced their greatest defeat, and they will have to rebuild even stronger. They will have to come after these 5 people, and so they'll track them here to my Eternity Brain, and then as the stronger versions of themselves, they will be able to destroy the Eternity Brain because it's too powerful for me to destroy myself. I'm like, okay, you know what? I kind of buy that as a storyline. He just needs to draw some heroes over here. Whatever. Epilogue 2 is just the heroes, like silent with captions like, "Are they done for?" No, they're still gonna fight. And I don't know why we needed that second epilogue. Then we get the cover for number 160. It's got dinos on it. So
it's got Jonah Hex shooting 2 guns like John Woo style at a fucking dinosaur. It's gonna be amazing.
Let's go.
Yeah. You know, this is not the greatest comic in the world or anything, but it is pretty fun. It's like a throwaway 70s. Like, okay, let's just meet a whole bunch of people. Why not? I'm excited enough to see how it goes. A unique villain to it as well. Why not?
I really love it's like, are you gonna explain this plan? No, I'm not. I'm not gonna bother. Does this make sense? No, it doesn't. It doesn't. Don't
For a 70s comic as well, you know, I'm into it.
Like She-Hulk tried to explain like why this like time paradox worked. I'm like, it doesn't make sense. I'm not gonna bother. I don't give a shit.
You're over explaining it. Just let it happen.
Yeah, I mean, page 1 of this issue is like the Justice League and the Justice Society are hanging out together. They're from different Earths.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like just let it happen. So yeah, that's this one. We will finish this story next time with JLA number 160. And then our main read next time, we're getting into spooky season here, y'all. We are going to do... Well, okay, so technically we've read a little bit of Marvel's version of Dracula for this show, but I don't think it counts. We read Apocalypse versus Dracula forever ago. Maybe one of the worst comics we've read for this show. But we are reading some Dracula from 1973 now. We're reading Tomb of Dracula. Issues 10 through 15. Number 10 was the first appearance of Blade.
Hell yeah.
11 through 15.
No idea what it is.
We're kind of along for the ride. I feel like this is going to be maybe similar to when we read the Korvac saga. And we're just like, you know what? We'll see what we're running into here. We kind of have no idea.
I think it's like Marvel's like first like comics code shit also though. Like I don't feel like they were allowed to have like Dracula stuff until like the 70s because of the comics code and stuff. So I don't know. Blade shows up.
Yeah.
It's gonna be horror comics. I read a Tomb of Dracula like in 2004 that like was like a brief reboot or something that didn't take off, but sure, why not?
Yeah, I have not read any of Marvel's horror stuff from this era at all, so I'm curious.
Is it Marv Wolfman? Speaking of like the Monitor and stuff,
it is Marv Wolfman and Gene Colan on art. Colan, there we go.
Yeah, that's he's a pretty big artist too. So yeah.
Yeah.
A very good artist. Marv Wolfman, of course, as a Wolfman, has an inside track on horror.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we'll see if we do more spooky comics. Maybe we'll do more wolves, some more vampires, maybe.
More swamps, who knows? Probably not swamps as quickly as more locks, more keys, who knows?
Who knows what we'll read, yeah. But I think that's it for this issue. What else is going on here? Chris, what's your stupid minds up to?
We have a episode that should be coming out the same week as this episode on Geostorm.
Oh, shit.
A very stupid movie that mostly takes place in a space station. There's not a lot of geostorms in this Geostorm movie. Is my brief Jeff Goldblum review.
There only needs to be one. It's not Geostorms.
Well, there's not even one.
That's too bad.
Are y'all going to cover Moonfall at all? I just saw that was on my HBO Max. It's where the moon is actually like a secret alien base or some shit.
It's in the maybe pile. We're thinking about it as best of 2022.
That's the only time I've ever gotten banned from Facebook was I was talking about my boy Roland. blowing up the White House again, because I think he's done it like day after tomorrow and Independence Day.
Oh, you mean like a suspension from Facebook for posting about
blowing up the White House? Yeah,
blowing up you can't post about that. You can't release this podcast.
Yeah, he hates the White House. He's German and he hates the White House. But there's a non-zero chance that in Moonfall the White House gets blown up. That's what I'm saying. You were about to go into plug for me. I've been on a couple episodes of Games My Mom Found. I was on an episode about iNinja, a 2003 platformer directed by Don Bluth in 3D animation, which makes no sense, voiced by Billy West. And then I was on an episode that should be out now about Super Mario 3D Land, and that's pretty good too. Games My Mom Found. So
great. I want to throw out a special shout out to a friend of the show, CM Punk, who I think Chris was there live in Chicago. He got to see him win the AEW World Championship there.
Yeah, I saw him, but after the match, but before the press conference, and I was like, "Hey, are you friends with Colt Cabana?" Anyway, I gotta go. I think it was a great match. He surprised me with how great he did. He also surprised me on the media scrum afterwards, where he insulted everyone else in the company and threw a huge shit fit and made himself look like a massive dumbass. Then started a fight backstage and got suspended from the company indefinitely. So we'll see what happens there. I'm sorry, CM Punk. I was just asking if you were still friends. I don't follow these things.
Boy, something set that guy off on a rant, huh?
He wrote a Shang-Chi issue we covered, right?
That's the comic book reference. We read his Shang-Chi comic way back when. It was fine. That's the world of wrestling this past week. That's what I've been wrapped up in.
I don't know how that's your plug when I was there.
I just wanted to talk about it. That's all. You're right. You talked to him. I merely laughed at him.
This is Kia's time, and he's chosen to talk about wrestling.
I've just chosen to talk about wrestling. It's all I want to talk about.
I also saw his dog run out before the pre-show.
Oh yeah, that was good. I heard about that.
I don't know if people saw that, but his dog definitely ran out on stage.
Yeah, apparently it was also like real. They were really trying.
It was very clearly real because it was before the cameras had started. It was before Justin Roberts was in the ring, and there were people trying to catch the dog. So I'm like, that's not part of the show.
It wasn't a shoot.
No, it was a shoot. A shoot is real.
Oh, okay.
It's a shoot. It was a
shoot. It wasn't a work. The dog wasn't trying to build up.
There we go. Thank you for my
vocab. The dog's not working. But boy, that was a weird night for wrestling, huh? Yeah. Well, that's all my plugs here. Thanks for go watch that media scrum. It's interesting. Also, the volume, like the voices on that media scrum are all like pitched down just ever so slightly, so everyone sounds like just a slightly deeper, more demonic version of themselves. So I don't know, like that night was just possessed by something, I guess. I don't know. But I think that's everything I wanted to talk about. Thanks for indulging. Some of my friends watch wrestling. This is the part where I end the show, right? Vince, thank you so much. I love you.
Love you too, buddy.
Chris, thank you so much. I love you.
I do not understand. What can the Justice League do that I cannot do?
And listener, we love you as well. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next time. Thanks so much. Bye.